So the other day I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast featuring Jane McGonigal. She was a recent interviewee or discussant. And Jane is a game designer who at one point in her adult life got a bad concussion, brain injury. And the doctors were telling her that in order to heal, she had to hold back on a lot of things that made her happy in life. And so as a result, she became very depressed and even suicidal. And at that point, she decided to use her profession and her passion to create a game that would help her out of this experience, out of this frame of mind, out of her depression, out of her suicidal thinking. And so what she did was create like a superhero game where she adopted a superhuman identity, one that she knew, and she had to do different things during the day to boost the attributes of her superhero, to kind of up the energy levels, so to speak. So, for instance, one of the things that helps people with depression is to eat good, natural, clean fats, like in walnuts. So if she ate walnuts during the day, that would be considered something that was strengthening her character's attributes. Or if she hugged her dog, because she loves, she gets a good feeling from her dog. So if she spent 20 minutes hugging her dog, all that good feeling from it would help her out of her depression. So that was lifting her character's attributes. So anything she did like that was important, and she had to do at least 3 of those a day. Then on top of that, she had to identify enemies. And an enemy would be anything that would cue her symptoms of depression or suicidal feelings. And so she had to be aware and ready to identify enemies. And when she found them, she had to be attentive and fight one enemy a day. And that could mean spending 5 or 10 minutes in a situation that would normally trigger her symptoms, and trying to see how long she could last before her symptoms started to be triggered, and then going back again, fighting them again later, another day, and see if she could last longer. This kind of approach to fighting the enemies. Fight one enemy a day, do 3 things that raise the levels of your character's attributes, and then take on a quest, something that your character would typically do. So if your character is generous, for instance, you might do something generous for others, something selfless for others as a quest for the day. So every day, a quest, a fight with an enemy, and 3 things that would be boosting the energy levels, the attributes of your character. And it worked for her. In fact, within days, she was already, all the bad feeling, all the negative feeling, suicidal stuff she had was gone. And eventually, she worked her way out of her concussion with this game. But she also wrote a book about it and shared it with others, and people with a host of different problems, medical and psychological, and both, have used it successfully to help themselves. And I felt kind of inspired by this because, ever since I got fired from Red Crook College, even before that, when I knew that it was coming, when I knew our program was being undermined, I've not been all that well, right? So, and I've been looking for something that I thought might be helpful for me in coming back to grounding myself and feeling better and feeling good again and being productive. So I was inspired by this podcast, and I've decided to go ahead with a similar game of my own creation. And actually, I've been talking with my friend. I have a friend in San Francisco, Darren, and he and I together have been trying to build a game similarly inspired, something we can play together, maybe even bring others into. So what I have right now, and I started my game yesterday, I just went ahead and started it, even though I know it might change significantly as we go along and experiment with it. What I started with is 4 base health measurements. Measurement of spiritual health, measurement of physical health, measurement of relational health, and a measure of cognitive health, in that order, because as Darren was saying, that really is the order that we come into this world, right? Spiritual, physical, relational, cognitive. And each of those health standards has a 1 to 10 rating. And as a baseline, to start the game, I started off at 5 yesterday with all of those. And then I have a separate category of another health category of a sort that is different than those, the 1 to 10. And the separate health category is a symbiont category. And this category is not just your relations to humans, but your relations to the ones we coexist with most closely, the synanthropes. First of all, the microbiota in our own bodies, right? As a most important symbiont. And then beyond them, other animals that we may be allies with. For instance, I'm very close to birds and I'm very close to snakes. So how I feel about that category is that nobody can actually, in this modern world, carry or achieve a 10 rating, not while embedded in this industrial complex. But somebody could get up to maybe in the 8 something range. And in this one, rather than whole numbers, I have 1/100ths of a degree. So 1 point or 0.00 to 10.00 scale. And moving up and down that scale is much more slow than the other health factors. And the other health factors, the primary 4, I could see in a day, if you focused a day on one aspect, you might move up 2 whole points. Say if I start at 5, I might be a 7 by the end of the day. If I've given a lot of attention to a particular health factor. But in the symbiont category, I started at 2, very low, and it can only creep up. So even though I did some pretty good symbiont activity yesterday, including eating locavore wild foods that contribute to the biodiversity of my microbial community, and even though I did have some intercourse with wild birds and snakes that fed those relationships, still I consider myself only to have moved up in level from yesterday to today by 0.05 of an integer. So today I started off at 2.05 for that aspect of my life. And as you get higher on the scale, the ability to move to get greater and greater levels becomes even slower, because it's the most difficult aspect to develop in. And in some ways, I feel like that symbiont health scale is really the same as the spiritual and the other, in a large sense, because to me that's what my spirituality is my connection with the life system and how well I'm living that and embodying it. So anyway, every day the goal is, of course, to get those levels up. So do something in each sense. Like yesterday, I did some physical work. I went running, did strength work, did flexibility a little bit, and then I took my computer. My computer I've been using as a laptop just on my lap. I took it and put it on a shelf so that I have to stand up now when I use my computer. I spent a good part of the day yesterday on my feet, which was more healthy than usual. And so my health level would have raised a point or so from 5 to 6. However, I was eating very good all day, and then at the end of the day, pretty tired, and Mahoney was tired too, and so we ended up ordering food, and we ordered a pizza, and I felt so bad about the pizza, the negative effects of the health of the pizza, that I feel like today I started off again with health of 5, right? Spirituality yesterday I didn't really attend to very much, so today I started off with a level of 4. It dropped down a point. My relational I didn't really attend to very much yesterday, so today I started off with 4. It dropped down a point. Cognitive, I think just working with developing this game itself has been beneficial cognitively, so I think I felt like I'm at a stasis there, so I start off today at 5, just the same as yesterday. In addition to this up and down of these metrics, I also have I've adopted the quest idea. Do a quest. Some quests are a day long, some quests are going to take several days, but a quest, once undertaken, should not be left undone, or there has to be special reason why you didn't finish a quest, because not finishing a quest can train you in some unfortunate ways if you undertake it. So any quest undertaken should be completed. Yesterday I did 2 quests. Both of them were just quests that could be done during a single day. I applied for a job, and I processed part of my apple harvest, which it was something that had been lingering all week that I hadn't got to. I hadn't got to the processing of the huge amount of apples I harvested last weekend. So I did about a third of those in a round that made sense. I juiced some, and at the same time I made some apple pie filling to be frozen. And basically I made enough apple pie filling for 3 or 4 pies, and I made juice to drink today, and I made from the pulp from the juice apple sauce, enough to can 7 jars. So that was a good round, and so with both of those completed, I felt good about it. I think if I didn't complete, then there has to be some kind of a consequence to my character. I'd also like to develop some kind of a point system so that I can work toward rewards for the completion of successful quests. Successful quests should give you some kind of points. So I haven't decided exactly how to run that yet. Then the other thing was that McGonagall used was fight the enemy, right? And I still like that. I like it, but as Darren pointed out, it's very complex. This notion of an enemy, and so we need to be a little careful with it, with how we approach it. But in any case, I was aware yesterday of anything that was potentially negative, had negative consequences to my character. One thing that happened to me in the morning was I posted on Facebook in the Blackfoot language, and someone, presumably on my friends list, reported it to Facebook anonymously, reported it as containing nudity, which it didn't. It's just a form of harassment, and they've done this. This is the third time in maybe the last couple of months that somebody has reported one of my posts as violating some Facebook standard when it totally didn't. They're just, somebody's harassing me. And generally, when that happens, I get angry at them. I don't know who it is, so I'm angry. And I feel a little bit like paranoid. I might even go on my friends list and start knocking people off. But yesterday when this happened, it was like I had a shield up, and it just bounced off like a BB. Very little impact on my character. There's just a tinge of like, why is there somebody on my Facebook that shouldn't be? And who the heck is this person? But there was just a tinge of that. And all in all, I didn't really care. I didn't care, and I laughed at it, and I joked about it. So it was healthy. My shields were up because I was in the game, I think. And so I think that was a successful encounter with a hidden enemy who remains out there somewheres, but so far has proven to be pretty, what would you call it? I don't know, not very strong. So, and then later in the evening, of course, we had the encounter with the pizza, which was more of a fail. But at the same time, when we had the pizza, I had to go and run and get Justine from work, and Mahoney was suggesting that I stop in the liquor store and buy her some beer, and I opted not to do that because I haven't been handling alcohol very well recently, and I think I need to just lay off of it for a while. And so I opted not to do that. She was okay with that, just expressed to her that I'd rather not. And so that was a potential run-in with an enemy that I think I did very well, because really alcohol has become one of my enemies. It's like my kryptonite almost. Not really an enemy, but it's it's in a sense it's a chemical from home that drains my superpowers, right? That makes me weak, makes me do stupid things instead of super things. So I opted away from that, which was good. So that kind of balanced out with the pizza, and I feel like it was a kind of a encounter with the enemy that ended in a draw, but at least it didn't end in a loss. So yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm playing this game. I'm going to play it for a bit, see where it goes, but I think it's something that can help me kind of bring my life back together, because I hadn't been all that well recently. So, and I was inspired by testimony from somebody who had played a similar game, invented and played a similar game, and it worked. So yeah, just wanted to share that with the YouTube community, what I'm up to, because I might talk about it more as things develop.